I think it's safe to say that our luck has officially turned around, guys. We are back, baby. We are back.
We're back.
Yeah.
Classic. We are back.
It's Heyman and Canberra's Queen and Green. Adelaide Longo, I think that might be Adelaide Longo's own dog.
Hello, good afternoon. Your girls in green have won the Capital Clash, beating Wellington Phoenix 1-0 away from home. You are on UCFM 87.8. Maybe you're listening on iHeartRadio. Maybe you're listening on the website. Maybe you're listening on Spotify back. Regardless, I'm Tom O'Halloran. This is The Greenhouse. We are back. As usual, I'll go through the game we've just played against Wellington, but first, here's the round recap. The first goalless draw of the season comes in Tarniat, despite Western United's threats. The Mariners looked flat against the Victorian side, letting only 5 shots off, not enough to trouble Western keeper Alyssa Daloste. The Melbourne derby provides entertainment as Melbourne City collect the points to go top of the dub after round 2. Venezuelan international Mariana Speckmeyer drew first and last blood, bookending a Lords Bosch tap-in to defeat their rivals 3-2. Melbourne Victory's Emily Gielnik scored her third for the season from a penalty in there as well. Sydney's woes continue as they go down 1-0 to Brisbane Roar. A myriad of chances all match, but only Chelsea Blissets hit the back of the net. Sydney now sits bottom after 2 losses, not the start to the season they wanted after lifting the trophy last season. Adelaide hold Wanderers 2-0 in Blacktown. Despite an even game from whistle to whistle, it was the Reds whose chances resulted in more shots and whose shots were more effective. Both goals came either side of the halftime whistle, the first from Emily Condon 6 minutes into stoppage time, and the second from Fiona Wurtz in the 51st. Perth Glory get their first win of the season as they beat Newcastle Jets at home. Georgia Cassidy got her side in front early as Perth went up 1-0 in just 50 seconds. The Jets' Josie Allen responding shortly after levelling the scores until 2 goals from Glory after half-time. Things got worse for Newcastle as their keeper was sent off for handling the ball about 10 metres outside of her box after being caught far off her line, although they didn't concede again, scoring a consolation in injury time. That was 3-2 there. Only 14 goals scored this week, half as many as last time. Melbourne City stay top undefeated, us close behind, only on goal difference. Sydney FC sit bottom, having scored just 1 goal in their 2 losses out of 2. Emily Gielnik and Fiona Wurtz both sit top of scoring with 3 goals each. Only 645 people turned out for the match, although atmosphere wasn't too bad considering there's sort of just one big stand in that stadium. A few fantastic mullets in the crowd. Phoenix supporters are always tough to play in front of as the away team. Conditions looked pretty good before the match. Overcast, but no rain in sight. Being Wellington, of course, it did start raining late in the match. Only one change to the starting lineup this week as Liz Anton makes her debut sitting in the middle of the back line. That forces Hayley Taylor-Young out onto the right, which means no Tegan Bertolicio as the whistle blows. Changes technically further forward as we switch to 4 in the middle. Darcy Malone and Mary Stanich-Floody play in central midfield, as Sophia Christopherson and Emma Robers play out on the wings. The front 3 consists of Markovski and Keane as wingers, the latter being moved up the pitch from last match. Captain Michelle Heyman starts in the middle as usual. Jaya Bowman unfortunately hit by collateral damage as Tegan Bertolicio takes her place on the bench. Coco Majstorovic, Holly Murray, Janaya Dos Santos and Ruby Nathan sit with her there. We faced 2 internationals in former Canberra forward Grace Jarley and defender Mackenzie Barry, both New Zealand internationals. Annalie Longo has also featured for the Ferns this year at the Olympics. What ensued was a midfield battle, both squads having numbers in the middle, and Wellington had a load of chances all match, particularly applying the pressure in the second half. Sally James managed to stay strong, making a host of game-winning saves despite that. Chances begun early for the Phoenix as Emma Main threatened to cross, bursting with pace down the right side of the pitch. Alex McKenzie, of course, dealt with it though, many in the crowd calling for a foul as a result. Another cross led off by McMeekin shortly after, but it didn't find anyone and was cleared. Wellington used those wings prolifically, Emma Main and Mania Elliott having buckets of pace, and Alyssa Wynnum as that target player to cross to. None of their crosses appeared particularly lethal, especially not in the first half, however, and our defence was as robust as they needed to be for those that did. Not to mention Sally James, who again had a blinder. The second biggest highlight of the match came 10 minutes in for Canberra, as the ball fell to Emma Robers in the centre circle, who put an excellent through ball past both the Phoenix defence and midfield to Maya Markovski. She got the ball just outside the penalty area and ran it in. However, Tiana Jaber's defending was too good for Maya. She was able, though, to pass it across goal and past Mackenzie Barry to Michelle Heyman. Michelle then had an open goal and calmly slotted it in with her right foot, scoring her 100th goal for Canberra United and her 111th in the A-League. After this, the game sort of slowed down. Wellington continued their barrage, but nothing in particular stood out for them, really, for the rest of the first half. They really sort of need to get their attacking plays down if they're going to have any chance of making finals this season. They have every other piece of the puzzle down. Their defence is a little shaky at times. Jason Pine, the commentator, described it as ropey. Their midfield is perfectly capable of taking the ball from the defence, but there's something missing in that next stage, and maybe they've had tough draws against Western and Canberra, who we've both looked pretty strong in defence. But the ball isn't getting to those attackers enough, and it's not being delivered well enough. In a similar fashion, actually, Canberra didn't look particularly convincing outside of a couple plays this match. Most of those coming in that first half. Obviously, Anthony has only been in charge for 2 matches now, but something isn't working between the defence and the midfield. I'm not sure what it is. On paper, we have a strong squad, but the connections in between each line of that squad isn't working particularly well, or as well as it could even. Sally James has been excellent in her shot stopping, but her distribution hasn't been working super well, which was actually similar to last season when Chloe Lincoln was in goal. So I imagine it's the instruction that she's been delivered, but something's missing for both of those teams. Regardless, the next huge chance came in the 43rd minute for us. It came from another through ball, this time from Mary Stanich-Floody. Heyman has it at her feet, touches it off so that Aideen Keane can run onto it, but it's a little too close to the keeper. Great bravery from both the keeper Villau and Keane. Maybe too much bravery even, as Keane's studs unfortunately end up in the thigh of Villau. Really diving at her feet is exactly what you want from your keeper, actually. But unfortunately this time it did come at a cost. She was subbed off at half-time. Another shot just after the restart, but Aideen Keane skies it over the crossbar. Even more painful, for us at least, was a few minutes later. Aideen Keane had the ball one-on-one with Villau, but she sent it well wide of the post. Probably would have scored it, because Villau chose not to come out this time, although it was tough, as she appeared to do a hamstring as she was running, actually. Really unfortunate stuff, but you can see as she's running past the defender, she just sort of grabs at her thigh. It's really obvious that she's done something, and she was also subbed off at halftime. It's actually kind of surprising she even got a shot off, to be honest. Hopefully she's back quickly. She has done her ACL before playing for Sydney, so hopefully there's no repeat of that. But that's where the first half ends. Wellington 0, Canberra 1. That first half had us leading in shots 6-1, 2 of ours being on target and none of theirs. Now, before we go to the second half, I just want to talk quickly about the first game we ever played against the Wellington Phoenix. This was very late because Wellington Phoenix didn't join the competition until 2022. I mean, the W League started in 2008, and then, they didn't join it until 2022, or 2021, actually. The first game we ever played against them was, though, in 2022, on the 11th of February, round 11 of that season. And we lost. We lost 3-0. And that started our pretty poor record against the Phoenix. There was 3 goals. One of them was an own goal from midfielder Ali Harron, who is no longer with the club. The first goal was from Chloe Knott, who was also no longer with the Phoenix. The second was from Grace Jarley, who is with the Phoenix, but hasn't been with them the whole time. Obviously, she joined Canberra I think the next season, and then went to Perth the season after, and now she's back in Wellington, the Kiwi. But we lost 3-0. This was a weird squad for us. There was players like Chloe Lincoln, Emma Ilioski, Sasha Grove, Grace Marr, players we've seen very recently, but also Ashley Sykes, who has been with the has been playing for so long. And then Michelle Heyman in there as well, also for a long time. Weird match, that one. On now to the second half. Two subs at halftime, like I mentioned. Ruby Nathan coming on to replace Aideen Keane, and Amy Daniele on for Carolina Villau as Wellington replaced their keeper. Very quickly, the crowd is hyped up after 15 seconds as Wellington get a good attack going. Annalie Longo makes an impressive run through a number of Canberra players and gets a pass off to Mania Elliott, who is wide open. She scuffs her shot though, and the ball goes just wide of the top corner. And then, the biggest highlight maybe of any game this season, a dog gets loose on the pitch, of course. An early contender for peak A-League moment of the season, Phoenix captain Annalie Longo's dog escapes whoever is supposed to be looking after it and makes its way onto the pitch. Her name is Tiger, and she is a spoodle. She evaded a number of players before finally returning to Longo's arms after 54 seconds on the pitch. I mean, the footwork on this dog was marvellous. At one point, there was 12 players attempting to usher the dog to them, including Michelle Heyman, Rebecca Lake, Annalie Longo. At one point, she runs almost to the new Phoenix keeper, but then turns around and runs back before being captured. Even the Phoenix manager is called into action. The Phoenix active group Yellow Fever are singing Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha'i Men. Jason Pine, the commentator, is heard cackling the whole time. And after the match, he tweeted, "Never take the mic away from me. I absolutely love this league." What a legend. Back to the game, unfortunately, and Phoenix get another chance 5 minutes later. Longo takes a corner. Grace Jarley gets her head on it, but Sally James employs the full length of her body and the best of her reaction speed to keep the ball out of the net. She can't get hold onto it, but by that point there are so many defenders in the box that the next shot gets blocked anyway. It goes out for another corner, but that one breaks down without a shot. Corner after corner after corner come for the Phoenix. Nothing of merit is able to happen particularly. After the 53 minutes, the Phoenix have 76% of the possession, and it stays that way for most of the match, to be honest. I think it actually goes up. Wellington have the next chance as Alyssa Wynnum finds the ball at her feet on the edge of the box. She lets a shot off that manages to get past James's glove, but it clangs into the upright and is cleared long by Hayley Taylor-Young. The game really gets good around this hour mark. The ball travels really end to end. Phoenix have pretty much all of the really promising chances. None of these come until the 78th, though. Before that, Tegan Bertolicio comes on for Maya Markovsky, pushing Christo up further forward. A defensive change by Ant. Probably one that's necessary, though. I mean, they've had all the chances by this point. You know, we'd probably like to have some. Maybe cement that lead, get a 2-0 going. And then Holly Murray comes on for Emma Robers as the rain starts to come slightly. Just a little bit of mist, really making that ball skid along that grass. Mary Stanich-Floody receives a yellow card for a poorly timed slide tackle on Grace Jarley. And Wellington make two subs, Lara Wall and Mebe Tanaka. I hope I haven't butchered that. Both of them coming on in the midfield. And then Janaya Dos Santos replaces Mary Stanich-Floody. Sally James is called into action again as Mania Elliott lets another shot off. It's a simple block, but the resulting corner lets Alyssa Wynnum have a crack. But that one goes well over the top, almost to Auckland by that point. Almost to Auckland, that one. Wellington continue to press into the Canberra defence as the fourth official signals for 8 minutes of additional time, and Sally James is employed again from a corner, catching the ball this time. And then time wasting really sets in for us. We do everything to draw down that clock, but the ref catches on, drags it on an additional few minutes. Wellington also receive a yellow card of their own, as substitute Olivia Ferguson makes an attempt on goal, sliding straight into Sally James, her studs into the stomach of the keeper. This drags on the match even further, and it ends finally after 10 minutes of stoppage time, 100 minutes, 1-0 to the away side. Our perfect record is maintained with our first ever win on New Zealand soil. The Kiwis end up with 18 shots to our 8, 7 of theirs on target to our 3, yet Sally James's heroics make sure that Canberra still take the win. The player of the match for me now was Sally James, and it's for that reason, for all those heroics. 9 saves all match, many of which were absolutely game-saving. Really incredible performance from her. Second for me was Michelle Heyman, obviously. In a void of chances throughout the match, it was hers that usually tested the keeper, plus the goal doesn't hurt her stats. Third, I'm going to say Mary Stanich-Floody. She made the most successful passes out of anyone on that pitch, for us at least. Wellington made a fair few. And I think that was really vital in creating the few chances that we did have. We now sit second, tied on points with first place Melbourne City, but behind on goal difference, 4-2. Behind us are Western United and Central Coast Mariners on 4 points, so a little bit of a buffer, but we still need to keep that streak alive if we want to stay up in this spot for the rest of the season. The next match is against Adelaide United on the Saturday, the 16th of November. It's at home at McKellar Park at 4 p.m, so make sure you show up. I'm expecting to see you all there. They're coming off a big win against the Wanderers, so they'll be a little bit tricky. They have one of the current Golden Boot leaders in Fiona Wurtz, definitely someone to be wary of, and I'm sure there will be instruction from Ant to the defenders to mark her tightly. Last time against the Wanderers, they lined up in a pretty standard 4-3-3, a tougher defensive line to break through, and overall a much more balanced formation. They like to play out from the back, with many of their plays coming from the keeper, out to the wingbacks, and then moving up to either Condon or Healy in front, and then finally to Fiona Wurtz, who is pretty accurate on goal. And that brings me to the end of this week's episode. You're listening on UCFM 87.8, broadcasting on Ngunnawal country. You can listen to this back on Spotify. It'll get released shortly. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. This has been The Greenhouse. I've been Tom O'Halloran. I will see you next week, Wednesday, 1 p.m, same place as usual, of course. I'll see you later.